And we are live. Yay. Okay. Hi, everyone. All right, let's just wait for people to start rolling in. I love today's topic. We're going to, hello, hello. Hi, Tiffany. People are rolling in. Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Okay. We're just going to give it another few moments for people to come in and then we'll start. Before we begin, I often like to set an intention for myself for how I would like this conversation to go. And so my intention for today is, please God, talk through me. Use me as a vessel so that I can speak words that these listeners, that all of you need to hear in order to inspire and create change and help you start you or continue you on your manifestation journey. So again, I'm surrendered. God, speak through me, and let's rock and roll. All right. Hi, everyone. Okay, before we begin, I always like to just know where people are tuning in from. So if you can just type in the chat, in the comments, where you're tuning in from. I happen to be in Jerusalem at the moment. We'll be doing a 2-month tour of America in the summer. Which, by the way, if anyone wants a live manifestation event, just message me and maybe we can set something up in your area. That would be cool. Hello, Dallas. Hey, New Jersey. Hi, UK. What's up? Baltimore. Oh, this is so fun. Netanya. Oh, okay. Someone local. Lakewood. That's actually where I was hoping to do a live talk this summer, is in Lakewood. So it's just too good to. That's your handle. Keep your eyes open. That would be awesome to meet some of you in person. All right, I have my matcha. I'm good to go. All right, so before we jump into today's topic, which is all things manifestation. What is manifestation? What manifestation is not? How to manifest? I'm going to leave you guys with some really practical and powerful tools that you can start applying today so that my goal is in a week from now, a month from now, my inbox gets flooded with testimonials and feedback from all the things that you guys have manifested, both big and small, right? Because manifestations happen on all levels. So actually really interesting statistic that I just heard today, and that is that there's been a 700% increase in Google searches for manifestation just this year. 700% increase. The word manifestation on Google I was mind blown. I'm like, wow, finally, the thing that I've been doing for a decade now is just coming out into the world. So that makes me really happy. Okay, so today, my goal is to leave you turned into a vessel, or at least the beginning stages of helping you turn yourself into a vessel to see, feel, and believe in the manifestation of your dream life, right? To see, feel, and believe in the possibility of your dream life. All right, so first things first, I talk a lot about manifestation meaning thoughts become things. I define it often as thoughts become things. But that term, that phrase, thoughts become things, is quite broad and doesn't really give us the steps of what it actually is. And it's limited. Thoughts becoming things, that's one part of it. But manifesting is more so about aligning your mind, your body, and your soul to be in alignment with source energy, with God, with the divine, with the universe, whatever you call it. And once you're aligned, you take action, and that energy of the universe, that godliness, meets you in that place of alignment. And then the things that you thought about, you start to see become your reality. Okay. Now, manifestation, let's talk about what it's not for a second, okay? Manifestation is not hocus pocus, some woo-woo, floofy, only spiritual idea, right? Manifestation is about training yourself to see, feel, and act as though you already have your desired outcome. I'll say that again. Manifestation is about training yourself to see, feel, and act as though you already have your desired outcome. Why? Because where your focus goes, energy flows. Where your focus goes, energy flows. There is a part of the brain called the RAS, the RAS, reticular activating system. Okay, we'll call it the RAS to simplify it, the reticular activating system. And this part of the brain, it actually teaches your brain what to notice. It teaches your brain what to notice. So for example, if I remember thinking back to when I had my Jeep. I used to own a Jeep, and I remember when I was in the market for a new car, and Jeep was on my mind. I knew that was the car I wanted. I wanted a white Jeep with black leather interior. Now, the moment I became clear that that's what I wanted, my RAS, my reticular activating system, turned on, and I started to only notice white Jeeps everywhere. All of a sudden, in my world, white Jeeps became the most popular car. Everybody had a white Jeep, right? I'm sure some of you can relate, right? Or let's say you have a crush on a guy, okay? Let's say you have a crush on a guy, and let's say his name is Joe. All of a sudden, the word Joe pops up everywhere. In books, on magnets, on postcards, and phone calls. Joe pops up everywhere, right? Why? This is your reticular activating system. It is the part of your brain that teaches your mind what to focus on. Now, again, we said where your focus goes, energy flows. So it's an important part of the brain when it comes to manifesting, because the more you're able to see, feel, and act, right? When I want your manifestation, when you're able to see, feel, and act your manifestation as though it's already yours, you activate what in Kabbalah is called koach hamoshech, which is a direct translation to the law of attraction. Yes, it exists in Kabbalah as well. Okay. Also, what manifestation is not wishing or dreaming or hoping or wanting, right? It's not wishing. Let's talk about wishing for a second. Wishing creates a mindset of lack. And I'll explain why. Wishing creates a mindset of lack because it reminds us of what we do not have, right? I wish I was wealthy, right? In that statement, I wish I was wealthy, I feel poor because I'm recognizing what I don't have. I wish I was more in shape, right? Just makes me feel like I'm out of shape. I wish I was married. That thought, that wish only makes me feel lonely, right? I wish I was more mindful, right? When I wish I'm more mindful, I just notice the cray-cray that goes on in my head, and it makes me feel more cray-cray, right? So it's important to understand here that manifesting is not about making a wish. It's not about wanting, right? Because on the shadow side of that wishing and wanting and hoping is the subconscious or maybe conscious vibration of lack. And when we are living in a vibration or a mindset of lack, all that manifests is more lack. Why? Because what I just said before, where your mind goes, energy flows. So if my mind is thinking about what I don't have, I'm sending energy in that direction, and therefore I am attracting or pulling towards me or revealing more lack-filled experiences. Okay. So in a sense, manifestation has an element of fake it until you make it. Fake it until you make it. Living, acting, feeling, seeing what you want as though it's already yours. So if you want to be some big shot corporate CEO, right? It is important to start dressing the part, right? That's the action. Start dressing the part. Start speaking the part. Eat with more consciousness, with more awareness. Walk with more consciousness. Walk a little taller, right? Walk with your shoulders relaxed, with more confidence, with more poise. Speak in a more controlled manner, right? If there is something that you want, you begin to act, think, speak, act, and feel as though that is already who you are. And you will start to turn the wheels, the cosmic wheels, that will then draw into your vortex more of what it is that you want, okay? So another tip to activate manifestation in your life is declaring what you want in present tense. Declaring what you want in present tense with confidence. Okay, so I'll give you a personal example. When I was ready to meet my husband, I hadn't met him yet, but I was ready to be married. And I was sitting at lunch with a few girlfriends, and I declared with confidence, not from a place of want, not from a place of, dreaming, I wish, right? But from a place of declaring and knowing that the divine can create any outcome bigger than my desire itself, right? So from that inner space, I said out loud, God, it is my intention to be married by May of this year, if it is your will or something better. I'll repeat that. I declared, it is my intention to be married by May of this year, if it is your will or something better. Fast forward to later that month, I met my husband, and we were married on May 29th, by May of that year. Okay, this stuff works, but it's important to understand how to create the mechanism that is you in order to see these things become your norm. Manifesting miracles on a day-to-day basis, both big and small, can be a part of your everyday life if we learn these techniques. Okay, so the tool that I used to manifest my husband, or I like to use the language of co-create because it's a dance, right? I have my job, God has his job, and we work together to manifest. So the tool that I use and I teach often is visualization. I go more in depth about this in my online course, but for now, I'll give you the basics so you can start with something. Okay, so visualization is about training your mind and your body to, like I said before, see and feel your desired outcome as though it's already yours. So what I do, if there is an opportunity that presents itself, but it's not yet mine, and I really, really, really want it, so I'll get first, the initial stage is knowing what you want. Obviously, you have to know what you want, but then you let go of the want. And the tool of visualization is all about sitting in a comfortable position, not laying down because I don't want you to fall asleep. So sit in a comfortable position with your eyes closed. I like to set a timer for 21 minutes, and I do this for either 21 days or 40 days. These two numbers are powerful numbers of transformation. So if you have 40 days, do it for 40 days. If you see that you haven't manifested in 21, extend it to 40. And I do 21 minutes a day. If you don't have 21 minutes, you can do 10 minutes. That's also okay. I wouldn't do less than 10 minutes. And with my eyes closed, I see the desire, and then I feel it in my body as though it's mine, and I get myself excited. The key here is to get yourself excited. The key here is to be in a consistent state of joy for either 10 minutes or 21 minutes, because that state of joy, that excitement you're getting from knowing that your desire is on its way, is sending out a vibrational frequency of joy, which is then further putting you into alignment with source energy, right? So you want to be a match for your desire. If you are feeling depressed or negative or anxious or scared or etc., right? It goes without saying that you're not going to be a match for what it is that you desire, because when we're in that state, we're in a low vibrational frequency, and that is not a match for cosmic energy. That is not a match. If we want to attract more joy, or we want to attract a dream partner, right? I'm assuming your dream partner is in and of himself or herself a happy person, a positive person. I imagine that's what you would want. But if you're in a low vibrational frequency, no way we're going to attract someone that's at a higher vibrational frequency. We're going to attract what we are a match for energetically. And that vibrational frequency, what I mean when I say that, is your emotional landscape. What are you feeling inside? Your feelings, when it comes to manifesting, your feelings are your GPS system. Okay, so I share a lot on Instagram different techniques to help shift our vibrational frequency to one of joy, because that's what will keep us in a consistent state of manifesting. That said, I don't want to discourage anyone who has tendencies to feel lower vibrational frequencies like sadness, anger, fear. I mean, we're human. I feel those feelings too. There's times where I don't feel surrendered. There's times where I get scared. There's times where I get anxious or nervous or whatever it is. But I don't stay there. I don't linger there. I give myself time to process what it is that I'm feeling. And then once I've allowed the feelings to be present, I see them, I give them back into a state of joy, which allows me to be in a state. Okay. Now, what's interesting about visualization is science teaches us that the brain does not know the difference between a real experience and the detailed experiences of your imagination. So with your eyes closed, if you imagine as though your desire is manifested, your brain is activating and sending out vibrations to make it happen in the quantum field. It already exists, because your mind does not know the difference. When you feel it in your body, it's as though it's happening, as real as this conversation right here, right now. Okay. So another thing that manifestation is, right? We said that it's not about wanting or wishing or dreaming. We said it's this inner state of knowing, of declaring, when really from a Hebrew or Kabbalistic perspective, it's called ratzon, which means will. Okay, so will and persistence, they go together. When you will something into being, you send out a direct script into the universe that encodes the universe with what it is you want. And now, like I said, the wheels are turning. Your ratzon, when we look at the word ratzon in Hebrew, the Hebrew letters, we also see hidden within that word is the word tzino. They have the same letters. Tzino and ratzon share the same letters. Tzino is a pipeline. There is an invisible pipeline above all of our heads, above all of our keter, crown chakras, we can call it. And that pipeline goes all the way up to Ein Sof, to infiniteness, to the cosmic field, right? So when we are clear about what our ratzon is, what our will is, what our intention is, that clarity helps to clear the clutter that is blocking that tzino, that pipeline, from allowing the abundance to come through. Okay, so here what we do is we declare what we want, we release the resistance, and we conjure up massive amounts of will persistence, and we take action. What is will persistence? It's knowing what you want and taking intense action in that direction. Now, for those of you who are watching and you're like, okay, wait, all of this taking action talk, but you talk so much about surrender. So where does surrender fit in? So when I ever talk about taking action, I am only talking about taking action, surrendered action, meaning internally, if you are taking action, but you are trying to control the outcome, you are blocking that pipeline. So the vibrational frequency of surrender sends a signal to the divine that says, you take care of it. I'm focused on what I want, why I want it. You take care of the how. I'm getting out of my own way. Okay, that's what it means to surrender. And this idea of declaring what you want, it's not is the one manifesting. Our job is to simply get out of our own way. Okay, so it's that empowerment is really an empowerment or a belief in God's ability to show up for us, in his desire to show up for us. Okay, and that inner space of empowerment is what I call belief. It's belief in myself and it's belief in the divine. That's where we start to co-create, when we work on our belief. And if there's a disbelief, if you have a desire, but there's a voice, a thought bubble coming in that's like, yeah, you talked about traveling, for many years now and it still hasn't happened. What makes you think it's going to start happening now? Or you write intentions all over your mirror about having lots of money or looking a certain way and it still hasn't happened. What makes you think it's going to happen now? Right? That doubt, when it comes to that doubt is another element that blocks the tzino, that blocks the pipeline that allows the abundance to come through. So we need to work on our belief that anything is possible. And we do this by rewriting our stories. I'm going to get to that a little bit later. But back to this feeling of empowerment. I'm going to share a story of my yoga experience. So I started practicing yoga when I think I was 22. And for years, I could not, for the life of me, get into a headstand. Could not get in. I would try, but something, I just couldn't do it. And finally, when I was in India, I remember just like bringing that concept of will, persistence, and empowerment. And I just told myself, I'm like, without thinking too much, without the doubts, without the fears, without overthinking, I just said, Ayelet, now you're going to get into a headstand. And I just, from an empowered place of possibility, like magic, I just got upside down and I stayed there. And ever since, I've been able to do a headstand. But again, tapping back into the inner space, the emotional GPS system, I, in that moment, got rid of all the doubts. And I just said, that's it. It's happening. I'm doing it. 1, 2, 3, go. So, okay. Now, another thing that manifesting is not about micro planning and controlling the outcome. Not at all. Manifesting is about training your brain to release the resistance. If there is something that you desire, but you experience some resistance in the form of negative self-talk, that resistance is, according to Kabbalah, what blocks the manifestation from happening instantly. Okay, so controlling the outcome is a form of resistance. In fact, we see in our holy books, there's in the Gemara, it shares that there's a halacha about time, and it says that the more we resist time, meaning the more we as human beings resist the amount of time that it takes for something to happen, the more time resists back at us. Right? Time as an entity, as an energy, as a construct, right? The more we resist it, the more it comes back and resists us, and therefore results in our manifestation taking longer to manifest. However, it goes on to share that the more we're able to surrender to time and surrender to the outcome and really understand that time and space don't really exist in the world of manifesting, the quicker our manifestation will manifest. Okay, so again, your role here is to understand what it is that you are declaring into existence. Why is it that you want it? Know why you want it, because that's the part that when you're doing your visualization work, That's the part that's going to help you get excited. And we said manifesting comes from a place of excitement and joy and high vibrational frequencies. And then again, leaving the how up to the divine. Okay, I'll give you another personal example. So my husband, a couple months ago, he was talking to a friend of ours who also happens to be an energy healer, and this healer was like tapping into my husband's needs, and he just very nonchalantly recommended that my husband take on Tai Chi, that it would help him with certain things that he was going through at the time. Mind you, my husband never considered Tai Chi. It wasn't in his realm of things that should be done. And so fine. A couple days go by, and my husband comes to me and he says, thinking about what our healer friend told us, Tai Chi, it's resonating with me. I think I want to do it. I think I want to take up Tai Chi. I just don't know where to begin. Right? So he was stuck on the how. How was it going to happen? And he wasn't really stuck, but he just brought it up. How is it like? Anyways, so I looked at him and I said, don't worry. Let's co-create it. Let's manifest Tai Chi outside of our home, like in our area where we live. Okay. Outside of our balcony is a park. Later that same day, I'm sitting on the balcony and just gazing out onto the park that's literally across the street from our house. And I see these two men doing Tai Chi. I've never seen these people do Tai Chi in this park ever before. So I quickly, right, because there's like a 5-second rule. When you're inspired or you see a manifestation about to happen, you have to take action, surrendered action. So I grab my 6-month-old at the time and I run to the park. We're barefoot, I think. We run to the park and I see these two men doing Tai Chi. And I asked them, I said, is this Tai Chi that you're doing? And one of the men said, yeah, we're actually starting a men's group here for Tai Chi next week. How do you explain that, right? Manifestation works. And I'll tell you why. Because I wasn't attached to the outcome. I wasn't thinking, okay, my husband wants to do Tai Chi. How are we going to create that for him? Now I have to spend all this time doing research and I don't have this extra time. Like I didn't allow my mind to start going to places that would block my desire. I simply said, okay, so let's co-create Tai Chi from an inner space of joy and excitement in knowing that when you set an intention, it is already out in the cosmic field and God must respond if you're surrendered and you let him in. Okay. So next, what did I want to talk about? Okay, another thing, I keep talking about manifestation requiring a state of joy, requiring a high vibrational frequency state. Now, for those of you who are thinking, okay, but you know what? Like I see a lot of happy people and they're happy because they get what they want. So of course they're happy. They have the dream house. They have the dream partner. They have wealth, whatever it is, right? They have everything they want. That's why they're happy. But that's a wrong cognition. It's the people who are happy that get what they want. It's the people who are happy that get what they want. Now, it's not easy to be happy 24/7, right? I'm guilty. I'm not in a high state 24/7. That's just not humanly possible. But again, it's about noticing the thought bubbles as they come up. And when there's any negative thought bubbles in the mix of your thinking, you pop the thought bubbles and you replace those negative thought bubbles with a better feeling thought. And I am doing that all day, every day in my mind. I might look like a crazy person, but luckily no one could tell. No one could see what's in my head, right? And so I'm constantly popping those thought bubbles and replacing them with better feeling thoughts. This is one way to stay in a high vibrational frequency. Okay. Now, manifestation is not about relying on signs. People ask me, is it okay to ask for a sign? So I'm going to say it's not about relying on signs, but it is about asking for signs. So we don't rely on signs. What do I mean? What do I mean that we're not supposed to rely on signs? I had a client come to me once and they told me, they said, I'm dating someone, I'm thinking about marrying them, but I'm not sure. I'm pretty confused. I'm in that state. So I'm thinking to ask God for a sign as to whether or not I should marry her. And I said, okay, what would your sign be? And they said, all right, if a brown leaf falls from the tree outside my house, that's a sign that I should marry her, right? True story. Now, mind you, it was autumn when this person brought up their concern. And it goes without saying that in autumn, leaves are going to fall from trees, let alone brown leaves. Okay, so we are required to not rely on signs. However, if you want to start working on your faith muscle, your faith in co-creation, your faith in the divine, wanting to show up for you constantly, a good way to work on your faith muscle is to ask for a specific sign in the form of a vision, a visual, or a symbol of some sort. So I'll tell you, a couple years ago, we were traveling, we were at the supermarket, I was with my husband, and he asked me, he said, when you ask for a sign in the form of just gaining inspiration, right? How specific should you be? And I said, you can get specific, but be flexible in the way the sign is going to show up, right? So be specific, but be flexible in the way that the sign is going to show up. So what ends up happening is we turn the corner of the eye. No, okay. So he asked me, I'm regressing. Hold on. So I told him, I said, I'm going to ask for a sign in the form of a flying unicorn, right? Because I wanted to test it a little bit. And I was like, okay, a flying unicorn. I know for a fact, I'm not going to see a flying unicorn in the sky, right? But I wanted to get specific. So I said, my sign right now, and I said this out loud to my husband, is a flying unicorn. We turn the aisle, and what do I see right in front of me is a huge, massive balloon with a unicorn on it, a helium balloon, hence a flying unicorn. Okay, now, if I got stuck on seeing an actual flying unicorn, then I could end up getting really discouraged. So you want to be flexible in the way that your sign is going to manifest. Okay, another fun way of asking for a sign, I'll give you a story of a client of mine. This was years ago. My client was from Upper West Side, New York City. And she wanted to manifest more financial abundance. So we started doing the work. We were a couple weeks into working together, and we were working on removing the blockages, releasing the blockages that were getting in the way of her manifesting financial abundance. So she came back to me the following week and she said, Ayelet, it's really weird. I've been finding monopoly money all over the streets of New York City, like fake monopoly money. And so I said, okay, so take that as your sign that you're on the right direction. I call these signs forehead kisses from the divine. But that wasn't enough for her. She's like, okay, let's deepen the work. Let's go further into this. Okay, so we started working on her vibrational frequency and getting her to a place where she could really, really believe, because she had some doubts. And the reason, and because she had doubts, she wasn't manifesting actual cash. She was manifesting monopoly money. So we worked on releasing the doubts. The next week she came to me and she said, okay, Ayelet, this is really weird. I found real money, but I found a $100 bill ripped in half. So she found half a $100 bill on some street corner by her house. Okay, I said, another forehead kiss from the divine. You're on the right direction. That's your sign. That's your sign. You're on the right direction. A couple days go by and she sends me she texts me. She goes, Ayelet, I'm mind blown. I don't even know what to make of this. You're not going to believe what just happened. And she sends me a picture. This is a couple days later, mind you. She sends me a picture of the other half of the $100 bill. If any of you want to see that picture, I have it saved in my phone for all these years because it's the most epic manifestation story. Okay, it's literally the exact, and the dollar bill, the $100 bill was not ripped in half. It was ripped kind of like towards, not so much in the middle, a little bit off to the side, which is how we knew that the two halves were of the same $100 bill. One of the halves she found on a street corner somewhere. The other half she found under the tire of her own car. Okay, so that's when she really felt like, okay, this stuff, there is some magic out there. There is something happening. I am being guided by the divine. All right, now, next, some people ask me, they're like, is manifestation scientific or is it just spiritual and energetic? So the answer is both. And manifestation is absolutely scientific. So I teach some of this again in my online course, but we'll get into into what it is, what neuroplasticity is. Okay, so neuroplasticity, also known as neural plasticity or brain plasticity, it's the ability of neural networks in the brain to change through growth and reorganization, right? It's when the brain is rewired to function in some ways that differ from the way it previously functioned. So I'll narrow that down in more simpler language. What is neuroplasticity? If you imagine your brain filled with billions of neural pathways, right? So imagine the most intricate highway you've ever seen, right? There's bridges and there's streets and there's paths and they're all overlapping and intertwining and wrapping around themselves, right? And it's just one massive structure with millions of pathways. Now, neuroplasticity teaches us that the brain is more like Play-Doh than it is a rock. And because it's like Play-Doh, we have the ability to rewire any condition, any belief, any behavior, any pattern, any thought, meaning anything is possible. Anything is possible. The neurons that fire together, right? And so if we rewire those neural pathways and we start creating new neural pathways of positivity and possibility and tapping into infiniteness, then we start to create a new network. And that new network, again, we said, where your mind goes, energy flows. So that new network, that new way of thinking sends a signal to your emotions, which shift your vibrational frequency, which put out new signals into the universe that allow your manifestation to be drawn or pulled or attracted to you. Okay. Is everything making sense so far? Just give me a thumbs up if this is like exactly what you guys wanted. If there's any questions or anything, just please comment in the comments below. Okay. Now, how do we do this rewiring work? So first, let me tell you where our wiring comes from. And I'll tell it to you in one sentence, and then I'll tell you a personal story. This sentence I want you to write down or remember it for the rest of your life. And that is, the stories you tell yourself about yourself become your reality. I'll say it again. The stories you tell yourself about yourself become your reality, right? When I was born, I came into this world, you, me both, came into this world, and we saw kids see the world as a playground of possibility. Anything is possible. Infinite possibility. I see my 2.5-year-old. I see my 7-month-old. There's no limitation in their world, right? But then what happens? We start school and the teacher calls on us and we get the answer wrong. So a seed gets planted, a story gets planted that says, I'm a failure. And it goes deeper than that. It plants a seed that turns into a habit or an identity where all of a sudden public speaking becomes scarier than death. For a lot of people, public speaking is scarier than death itself. How crazy is that? I mean, it's not crazy. It's the human condition. Okay, so personal example of when I created my own story for myself. When I was 8 years old, I had a crush on a boy named Tommy. True story. And At 8 years old, I was innocent. I never liked a boy before. I didn't know what heartbreak felt like. I didn't know what love felt like in terms of like boy-girl relationship. And Tommy knew that I liked him. And one day during recess, I see him approaching me. And I'm thinking he's going to tell me that he likes me too. Like I was convinced he liked me also. And anyway, so he does approach me. He taps me on the shoulder. He looks me in the eyes and he says, Ayelet, I don't like you. Not even a little bit. Get that through your thick head. And what do you think I did in that moment? Right? Besides, okay, initially, what did I do? Because my protector part, the part of me that got formed in that moment that wanted to protect my vulnerable part, my protector part looked at him and said, well, then we're both in luck because I don't like you either. Right? But my vulnerable part, what did she do? She grabbed her best friend. I grabbed my best friend and I ran to the bathroom and I cried and I cried and I cried. And what do you think the stories I told myself about myself were in that moment? I'm not lovable. I'm not pretty. I'm not good enough. No boy will ever like me. The list goes on and on and on. But as an 8-year-old, I wasn't a therapist yet. I wasn't a coach. I didn't have the tools to know how to relate to those painful emotions. So I shoved vulnerability into exile. I threw her into that part of me I put into a basement called exile, never to see the light of day again. But what happens when we don't show our vulnerable side? What happens when it's only our protectors that are exposed? Right? So what ended up happening for me was, because the story I told myself about myself was, no boy's gonna like me. So any boy into my teenage years that ever loved me, right, and said, Ayelet, please just believe me, I love you, and they showered me with praise and love and affection and gifts, and didn't matter. I pushed every single one of them away. And I broke their hearts before they'd have an opportunity to break mine, because God forbid my vulnerable part would experience what she felt when she was 8 years old. So she was protecting herself. Okay, because of the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves becoming our reality. But what happens when we live with those stories? What would have happened if I didn't become exposed to the work that I teach and I'm a student of? What would have happened if I didn't become exposed to this work? I never would have been married. I never would have gotten married. I never would have experienced the love and the connection that my husband and I share. Thank God. Right? But I did the work on myself to rewrite my script, to rewrite my narrative, which requires really going into the subconscious, right? The work I do deals with the subconscious, because oftentimes we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what our blockages are. Sometimes we do, and then it's just a matter of working through it, releasing it. Right? But oftentimes we don't know what they are, which is why it's very powerful to have a mirror, an outside person, someone outside of you, be it a mentor, a coach, a therapist, a guide, a rabbi, whoever, to help you find your blind spots. Because your blind spots are what's blocking the tzino, the pipeline, from allowing your shefa to come down. But even simpler than that, before going to this person, that person, simply understand, what are the stories I'm telling myself about myself? And if I'm telling myself I'm not lovable because Tommy didn't like me, is that premise true? No. Just because Tommy didn't love me, did that mean every boy ever in the whole universe, all the billions of them, were never going to like me? No. Right? Does it mean I'm not lovable? No. Does it mean I'm not enough? No. Right? So it's important to do a little bit of that regression work and go back and unpack what those experiences were that took us out of that childhood innocence of anything is possible. So be careful how you speak to yourself. The average person thinks up to 80,000 thoughts per day. That's a lot of thinking. That's about 47 thoughts per minute. 47 thoughts, that's almost a thought per second. Now, if that's not mind-boggling enough, we also know that 80% of the average person's thoughts tend to be negative thinking. 80% of the thoughts we think tend to be negative. And if thoughts become things, then it goes without saying, if we're not manifesting our desires because we're thinking negatively, then we have to go in and do some, spring cleaning of our thought processes. Okay, so we spoke about manifestation being scientific. Now let's talk about manifestation and how it's also spiritual, if that part wasn't obvious already. Okay. So the words abracadabra. Abracadabra. We've all heard them. We've gone to a magic show, the magician, now you see it, now you don't, abracadabra. Many of us don't realize that the words abracadabra come from the language of Aramaic, which is Old Hebrew. And it translates to abracadabra, dibu. It gets created as I speak. Speech, according to Kabbalistic wisdom, is the direct portal between the physical and spiritual worlds, right? Which is why, according to the Jewish tradition, prayer is so powerful. Because prayer, we're taught not to pray in our minds, but to pray out loud, in a whisper, but out loud. To be able to hear ourselves. Something happens when thoughts come out through speech and then we hear it through our own ears. That whole mechanism that happens in the brain, in the mind, in our heads, also put out a vibrational frequency into the cosmos that allow our speech to manifest. Abracadabra. It gets created as I speak. And we see that in the Torah. We see that in the Torah when God created the universe, he created the world through 10 utterances, through speech. And if we are known to be a microcosm of this macro energy called the divine, and we, each and every one of us, you included, have a God particle inside of you, it means that you have the power to co-create. You have the power to think the thoughts, to speak the words, and to act the actions into your reality. And our job is the easy job. Our job is, again, to focus on what we want, what we desire, and why we want it. What do you desire? Why do you desire it? And then leave the how up to the divine. When you leave the how up to the divine, you're actually allowing yourself to receive, because you're admitting that I'm not the one in control. My ego is not so big to think that I'm God. So I'm not clenching my fist, clutching my fist. I'm opening my fist and creating a vessel out of myself to receive the magic and the miracles that surround me. In fact, also to prove that manifestation is spiritual, so Rabbi Nachman in Torah 62, he teaches that when a person focuses all of their intention on a specific outcome, that outcome will manifest. Right? But what does it mean to focus our complete intention and attention on one thing? It means, again, remove the clutter, release the 80,000 things that we think about per day. It's about becoming present, When we're present with what is right here, right now, then we're not living in a state of fear and anxiety about the future. And we're not living in a state of guilt or regret, which is us living in the past, right? When we're feeling fear and anxiety, we're living in the future. When we're experiencing guilt or regret, we're living in the past. This moment right here, right now is perfect just as it should be. This morning, I was leaving my yoga class and I left early to get to a meeting with some friends. And my friend messaged me just as I left the yoga class. And again, I left the yoga class early to get to the meeting on time. And she messages me and she says, we're running 15 minutes late. And in my head, I'm thinking, I only have an hour to meet. And if they're 15 minutes late, that makes it 45 minutes, not to mention I left yoga early. So, all these thoughts racing through my head. And then she messaged me. She's like, don't worry, if we don't have as much time as we like, it's all good. And my mind instantly just went to translating it's all good from English to Hebrew. Don't ask me why. I just translated from English to Hebrew in my mind. And in Hebrew, it's all good is akol beseder. Akol beseder. Now, beseder, akol beseder means everything. It doesn't mean it's all good in Hebrew. That's the words we use to describe it's all good, but it actually translates to everything is in its right order. Beseder. Seder means order. Everything in every moment when you're in the here and now and you're just present and you're not living in the problems, you're not living in the fear, you're just here right now. You recognize and you know and you feel the perfection of your life, of everything that's unfolding, even the painful stuff. God is in that too. Even the darkness, God is in that too. In fact, he brings darkness into our lives to activate faith. God brings darkness, pain, challenges into our lives to activate faith, right? Because he wants us to increase our faith, because it's in the increasing of our faith that we raise our emotional vibrational frequency. And again, we come into that state where we co-create. God wants you to fall in love with him. God wants you to see miracles day in and day out. That's his nature, is to give, like a parent to a child. Right? But we block him out. We push him out of the way. Okay, so again, focus all your intention, do the visualization work. Again, I share a lot more of this in my online course if you want to actually have the step-by-step to all of these processes, which is in my bio. Innocent plug. Okay. Now, also, the Baal Shem Tov shares that the Baal Shem Tov says that where your thoughts are, that's where you are. Where your thoughts are, that's where you are. And he goes on to say that everything about a person's reality can be changed, right? I spoke about neuroplasticity, which proves everything can be changed. I went from rejecting guy after guy after guy, not letting anyone in, thinking that I was maybe meant to live a whole life alone, to doing this work, changing the neural pathways, rewiring my thinking, and manifesting who I consider to be the most incredible man on planet Earth. Okay, now, where your thoughts are, that's where you are. What does that mean? I was talking to my husband the other day and I brought it to his attention. I said, I noticed, because we have this like ritual where we brush our teeth together before bed. And so we'll just kind of look at each other like, it's kind of our way also of like doing a digital shutdown. It's when we know, okay, work is done, computer's off, phone's off, we shift into like preparing for bed mode. And so, I shared with him, I said, I realized something. Oftentimes when we're brushing our teeth, you're looking in one direction, I'm looking in another direction. Mind you, the mirror is in front of us. We could be looking at each other and using it as an opportunity to connect. But we're both in our own la-la land. We're both in our own universe, in our own world, thinking about God knows what, when we could be using it as an opportunity to connect. And I realized in that moment how quick and how easy, even I could be standing next to the person I love the most, and my mind can wander off to some other world. And in that moment, I might be standing next to my husband, brushing our teeth together. But really, according to the Baal Shem Tov, if I'm in Bora Bora on the beach drinking a whatever drink, and if my husband is in South America hiking, okay, that's actually where we are, if that's where we are in our minds. Okay, we've covered a lot. We're almost towards the end. But I wanted to cover a question that came in earlier today, because I think it was very relevant to our live. And the question that came in was this: is it possible to manifest something that is not right for us? Meaning, she said, I recognize that everything that God does is good, but is it possible for us to set an intention and manifest something that's not right for us? So the answer is yes and no. Yes, we can manifest something that we want, even if it's not what we necessarily, even if it's not what God would have had given us in that moment, because we have what's called free will. I'm not going to get into the topic of free will and destiny and fate and all that. That's a whole nother live that we'll do. But it's important to know that Hashem, God's will for a person, never contradicts a person's will for themselves. God wants to give you what you want, right? So what is the solution to this? The solution is to align your will with God's will, right? So how do I do this? How do I actually align? How do I say, you know what? I have my desires. I have my declarations. I know what my desires are, but what if God wants something else for me? That's why when I shared the story about manifesting my husband, I uttered the words out loud. I said, "Dear God, it is my intention to be married by May of this year, if it is your will or something better." Right? The "or something better" part sends out a signal that says, I trust that whatever you're doing, God, in my life, is for my ultimate good. Because ultimately, bad things do manifest, and we see that. Even though nothing is actually bad. Again, that's another conversation for another time. Everything that God does is ultimately good, right? Because God is perfect, yeah? But we see in our world, in our reality, we do see bad things manifest. But ultimately, Hashem's will for a person will never contradict a person's will for themselves. So the solution again is to say, "Dear God, it is my intention to," whatever your desire is, and follow it up with saying, "if it is your will or something better." The something better means you will always be protected. And also Rabbi Nachman teaches that we are not supposed to be too attached to our desires. It's okay to declare with confidence and come from that place of belief. We spoke a lot about belief today. And we should, and we should believe in my own ability to create as well as God's ability to create for us. But we shouldn't get too attached. When it came time to manifest my husband, I wasn't in an inner space of control. Oh my gosh, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Is it going to happen now? It better happen now. Oh my gosh, what if it doesn't happen for another 5 years? How old am I going to be then? And I start calculating past, future, this, that, and it takes me out of the present moment. Right? So we're supposed to declare it and let go. In other words, set it and forget it. Set your intention and forget about it. Set it and forget it. Okay. This is the difference between setting goals and setting intentions. I'm not huge on setting goals. I sometimes talk about goal setting because it's like the language people use, but the word goals automatically takes me out of the present moment. And presence is the magic that manifests. Being in the present moment. Because if I'm in the present moment, I'm not in a state of fear or anxiety, which we said is the future, and I'm not in a state of guilt or regret, which we said is in the past. So when I'm in the present moment, we said present moment is the magic that manifests. So goal setting, it's all about the future. What are my goals? What are my goals? What are my goals? 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now. And if I don't reach my goals, there's disappointment. Okay, but setting intention, and it's language. Language is so powerful, right? We said abracadabra, it gets created as I speak, right? So language, we know, speech is the tool that we human beings have to co-create our reality. Now, if I'm setting an intention, and the word intention is very different than goals, setting an intention is let me bring it back to goals for a second. Goals is like you pull the arrow back and you want it to reach the bullseye, and chances are it'll get somewhere along the lines of the bullseye in that vicinity, but it's a straight line. It's moving forward into, right? It's a straight line. You don't leave room with goals. You don't leave room for reroutes, being rerouted. Setting an intention is like putting your intention into Waze, right? Or your GPS, right? Putting your intention into Waze. You don't know how you're going to get there. You don't know what the directions are. Waze knows what the directions are. You might be rerouted. You may be rerouted, but you trust that eventually you're going to get there. Right? And that trust and letting God into the driver's seat and coming along for the ride is the inner space of manifesting. Okay. So we covered a lot today. We're going to end here. I hope you guys really, really enjoyed this talk. If there's any other live talks or any topics that you'd like me to cover, feel free to message us, and if it's in alignment, then maybe we'll create a talk about it. All right, thank you so much. I hope you guys got what you came for. I hope this was enjoyable and you got tools that you can use moving into your future. And please, by all means, when you start to see things manifest in your own life as a result of using these tools, please private message me, let me know. I love hearing feedback. Hey, Daniela. Thanks so much. You're welcome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. You're welcome, Gloria. You're welcome, Adler Chaya.